Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's in the Pod podcast. I'm not going to scream it in your face this time, because I feel like that has kind of gotten a little bit old. As always, I am joined here with my brother from the same mother, Michael. Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up?
You know, you could be a little more enthusiastic. Take two. Hello,
Sorry.
everybody, and welcome to the What's in the Pod podcast. As always, I'm joined here with... Now I'm stumbling on my words. You know what? Let's get to it. Today, we're going to be talking about slasher films. Films like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and
That's
Michael Bay, the movie. So let's start off. Actually, Michael Bay does have a lot to do with some of the movies we're talking about today. Do you know why?
Yeah, because you thought he was RoboCop. Oh no, that was Michael Biehn.
Yeah, I thought Michael Biehn was
still don't know.
RoboCop. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm not as intelligent as I once was in movie trivias. And yes, I did think Michael Biehn was RoboCop. I have learned my mistakes. I was wrong, and I can admit it. But so Michael Bay has something to do with some of the movies we're talking about today, because we're talking about slasher movies, and Michael Bay has remade a lot of these slasher movies through his Platinum Dunes. Which, speaking of which, we should we gotta add Texas Chainsaw Massacre to this, because we didn't do that one.
Is that really a slasher movie though?
Yeah, it's like one of the pioneer slasher movies from the 70s. And I got a lot of fun facts about it that I read out of a book, you know, because I like to read. But anyways, let's just start off with what I think is the worst one on our list, Friday the 13th.
What?
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the Friday the 13th movies. I like the first, the second, and the fourth, but the other ones I thought were just kind of garbage. And even the first, second, and fourth weren't like great.
I mean, for the most part, they're all pretty much garbage, but they're fun to watch.
Like rewatching...
This might be like the first time we disagree about anything, but I actually think Friday the 13th, the series, is the best of all slasher movies.
False. There's things about them that I like, but for the most part, I can't stand rewatching any of them. Even rewatching the first one is kind of tedious to me, because I just feel like it's a weaker version of a movie we're going to talk about right after this, which is a great tie-in to each other, ironically. But I don't know, it's just the Friday the 13th, like even the first one, it never really did much for me, because it felt kind of tame from a violence perspective. It felt kind of, I mean, by today's standards, obviously predictable, and the score is cool, but the direction isn't really that great. The characters don't really have any personality. There's just, I don't know, it just never really did it for me.
But that's kind of the point.
No,
and
I get that.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because when we get to the next one of these other movies that we're going to talk about, is like, I feel like I hated that movie because there was too much character development. I don't care. I'm not watching this movie to look at fucking characters. I'm like,
I'm not
I
necessarily...
want to see these dumb kids do dumb stuff and then get killed for it.
I'm not necessarily watching it for the characters either, but what I mean by the characters feel flat and all that is we're following these characters regardless, and we're going to be following them for a majority of the film. I don't want to be bored by what they're doing or what's happening in the movie. I don't know, it just... This one, like the Friday the 13th series, just was never like fun to watch for me. It was just kind of like tedious. Like they were just...
Well, I guess it might be different, because my perception of these movies has always been like Jason is my favorite slasher, and honestly, like every time I watch one of these movies, that's who I root for. So to me, like, he's my rooting interest in the film. Like, I could care less about these stupid kids.
Then why do you like the first Friday the 13th? Zing.
Because, well, you know, it's funny you mention that, because it's it's just part of the whole thing, though. I mean, like the setup of it being his mom, watching the movie, even rewatching it. There's times where you kind of forget that that's the case, but I mean, it still has that same concept. Like, I'm rooting for Betsy Palmer every time I watch the first Friday the 13th. Like, I'm always rooting for the bad guy, and I don't think there's really any other movies out there where that's my rooting interest.
Well, other than like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, I mean, even Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, I'm a Freddy Krueger fan. I think he's cool. I think, like, those movies are great, but I don't sit there rooting for that guy to kill people. Like, that's messed up. Like, don't attack people in their dreams. That's the safe space.
Let them
like,
sleep.
Leave it alone. That's messed up. But if you're a dumbass kid out in the woods by yourself and you're doing stupid stuff, well, guess what? You're gonna get slashed.
I'm pretty sure in a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, Jason attacks people while they're sleeping, aka he smashes somebody to death in a sleeping bag. Point
Yeah,
proven.
but he doesn't go inside their head and fuck with their mind and, like, do dream stuff with them.
Yeah.
Like, that's just mean.
But they're just trying to sleep next to a goddamn fire, and he picks them up in their sleeping bag and bashes their head in against a tree. Which, if you read Unmasked, the Kane Hodder biography, he talks about how that's one of his favorite kills he's ever done for
It
the
is
series.
pretty cool.
And I actually highly, highly recommend checking that book out. It's called Unmasked. And it just has a lot of like great behind the scenes stuff for the Friday the 13th movies that he was on, 7 through 10, and just his whole life story. That dude's an interesting guy. But ironically, he acted in the 4 worst of the series, because 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely fell off the deep end, although Jason X is one of my guilty pleasure movies. If I had a top 10, it would definitely be up there, even though I feel like I have to stop saying that because the last time I watched it, maybe 4 or 5 months ago,
It's terrible.
it's like the worst movie I've
It's
ever
really
seen.
bad.
It's so bad.
Trust me, like I can watch Jason X and have some fun with it, but it is not a good movie
It's bad.
at all.
Real bad. It's so bad.
It's actually really sad in the book because he details how much he loved playing Jason, like how much he felt like at points it gave him a meaning to life, like all this shit he goes into detail. And when they made Freddy versus Jason, they didn't even call him. They were just like, yeah, we're gonna cast somebody else, big guy. Sorry.
The weird part about it is, like, okay, what honestly do you need for Jason? Just some big old dude to stand there and walk around slowly?
Pretty
I mean,
much.
that's all he does. So it's weird. I don't know if maybe, honestly, they were probably trying to just cut costs, because I'm sure Robert Englund wasn't coming cheap at that point.
Robert
Wes
Englund
Craven
couldn't
probably
play.
wasn't that cheap, to get on board with buying his characters or whatever had to be done with that.
Oh, you're saying to get him as Freddy? Yeah, I thought you meant getting
Yeah.
Robert Englund as Jason. I was like, wait, what?
Oh, no. Robert Englund
Yeah.
is Freddy, because, again, you have to have...
I don't know how much
if
he might cost.
any of the
though.
two you have to have Robert Englund, because
yeah.
he's the face.
Or Jackie Earle Haley, who plays the better of the Freddy Kruegers.
I did think that one was significantly more creepy, but that movie itself was pretty
Dare
terrible.
you? Another fun fact from the book, and this will be the last one, and then we'll get back to the movie. I thought this was fucking funny. So apparently on every single one of the Friday the 13th movies, and when Kane Hodder was in the Hatchet movies as Victor Crowley, he pees in at least one dressing room of one of the characters he's going to kill. So he sneaks into their dressing rooms or trailers when they're not there, and he pees in it to mark his territory. He like pees in a corner. Just a fun fact.
I don't know how much fun that is, but it's pretty freaking weird.
It's fun for him. And he details it. He's like, I apologize to these people because they never knew I did this. And then he goes on to list all the people's trailers he peed in.
Oh, see, now that's even better.
Exactly.
That actually makes it okay.
Yeah, they didn't even know what happened until he wrote the book. But anyways, back to Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon gets stabbed in the neck in this movie. Would you like to elaborate?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's laying there, and then he gets stabbed in the neck, and it's kind of
Next thing you
cool
know,
because the one thing I love about these like '80s horror movies is knowing that
Tom
all of
Savini
these
worked on
effects
them.
are practical effects. So they had to, you know, dummy up a body and stick the thing through it, and I guess it wasn't giving them what they needed to do, or like the pump stopped working, and somebody had to basically improvise and detach whatever it was and start blowing through the tube so that
Yep.
the blood would start squirting out. And it's like, I mean, you're either doing that or you have to set up the whole damn thing from scratch and do it again. And they kind of save the shot from being usable to the point that they improvised, adapted, and made it work. I think stuff like that is cool, and especially because Tom Savini worked on this movie, and he's a legend.
Yeah, funny enough, when we were shooting the bearded lady, our squib didn't work for the gunshot effect at the end of the movie, so we had to do just that, where you blow into the tube and the blood shoots out. So like that's the thing with special effects on almost every single movie is you have to plan for them to fail, and they tell you that a lot. Like there's a movie that Tom Savini worked on, which I don't know if you've seen or even heard of. It stars Joe Spinell. It's called Maniac. And there's a scene when he shoots through a car with a shotgun and blows up somebody's head. And the effect actually went perfect. It kind of looked like the movie Scanners, where the dude's head just explodes, because they did it the same way where they shoot it with a shotgun. But they didn't have permits. So they're just firing a real gun in the middle of, I think they shot it in New York. And then after they got done, they were like, all right, we got to leave. We got to leave like now. Because we can get arrested for this shit.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that, but once you said it, it reminded me of another slasher movie that was amazing back in the '80s. Was Maniac Cop
Yes.
with none other than Bruce Campbell.
That's actually the same director as Maniac, William Lustig.
Is it really?
Yeah, William Lustig. Bill Lustig, as some call him. He's the guy that owns, or I'm pretty sure he's the owner of Blue Underground Entertainment, which released most of the movies of my childhood uncut in America and all that. Like all the slasher movie, like obscure movies mostly. Like all the Dario Argento, Lucio Fulci movies. They're still releasing stuff to this day. Like all the underground stuff you could find came from Blue Underground. And it was all Bill
Gotcha.
Lustig. Good old Billy. Billy Lustig. He also made a movie called Uncle Sam, which is about a zombified version of Uncle Sam. Or wait, no, it's not called Uncle Sam. What the fuck is that movie called? Let me look it up. Either way, it's a god-awful piece of shit. Like, it's really fucking bad.
Video, 1996.
You find it?
Yeah, I found it on IMDb. It's got Isaac Hayes in it.
Oh, it is just Uncle Sam.
It's gotta be good.
No, it's really bad. He made some really good movies like Maniac Cop, Maniac, all those, but Uncle Sam was just, it was terrible.
Maniac Cop 3, Badge of Silence.
I thought he just skipped Maniac Cop 2 and came back to 3.
Nope, he did Maniac Cop 2 and 3.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you look
Yeah,
at
those were the
producing
type
credits.
of movies that we'd go to the video store and we would and Grandma Beanie would rent them for us because she didn't know what an R-rated film was.
Yep. You guys would watch movies like Maniac Cop.
Yep. Oh, Maniac Cop 3 has Jackie Earle Haley. That's like foreshadowing him being Freddy Krueger.
How?
I don't know.
That doesn't foreshadow that
It
whatsoever.
kind of foreshadows. It's like foreshadowing.
William Lustig had nothing to do with Nightmare on Elm Street.
But I kind of feel like Jackie Earle Haley did.
I
So
feel like
it's like
you don't know
foreshadowing.
what the hell you're talking about. So
It's kind of like foreshadowing. if you
I'm
think
pretty
about it.
sure Tyler Perry's new Medea film is the best movie of the year.
Oh my god.
But anyways, we haven't really talked about Friday the 13th much.
Other than the fact that it's awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad. I'm not saying it's a bad movie at all. I do like the movie. It's just I don't really enjoy it as much as all the other ones. Like of the classic slashers, this is the one I choose to watch the least because I don't know, it just doesn't really do much for me. But fun story leading into the next movie we'll talk about. Friday the 13th, when it got released, it was being made about a year after a movie that we're going to talk about called The Burning was being made. Now, The Burning, when it was released, it came out in 1981, which was 1 year after Friday the 13th. And everybody called it a Friday the 13th ripoff. They're like, this movie is just doing what Friday the 13th did, but worse. This movie sucks, and blah, 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 blah. And the movie was shat on because of it, and eventually it got a cult following like nowadays. But it was made before Friday the 13th, and it actually was the first movie to implement the whole campfire, like sitting around the fire telling stories and whatnot, which Friday the 13th Part 2 ripped off. So they actually took that scene and thought that it was a good scene and put it into their movie, Friday the 13th Part 2, and literally ripped off the movie. So not only was The Burning made before Friday the 13th, but released after because of whatever reasons, but then Friday the 13th actually ripped it off, and The Burning was called a Friday the 13th ripoff. I thought that was ironic. Another fun fact about this movie we're going to talk about, The Burning, it was the only movie written by Harvey Weinstein, who we all know is one of the biggest pieces of shit in Hollywood. This was his passion project as a child, I guess, or as a young man, and he wrote it, produced it, and this was like the first movie that they ever actually made, was The Burning. Fun fact.
Yeah, I just watched it today, and I thought it was not that great.
I love this movie, personally.
I thought there was just,
really
again,
fun.
it's the flip side of, like, Friday the 13th to me is I want to see these kids die. And in this movie, watching it the whole time, I'm like, holy crap, when are these kids going to die?
Yeah, but when they die,
there was just
they fucking die.
way too much story and, like, you guys getting bullied, and, he's like a peeping Tom, and yada, yada, yada.
Alfred.
We're going to go skinny dipping, and it's like, holy crap, when are these kids going to fucking die?
Yeah, but what about that raft scene? Because that raft scene is probably one of the
it was pretty cool.
like,
I mean, all
pinnacles
the,
of
gore
slasher
effects
history.
and stuff that you get into watching these movies was great. I thought, some of the kill sequences were pretty cool. I thought even the opening sequence was pretty messed up. But I just, the movie could have been 25 minutes long, basically, is what I'm saying.
There's so we were talking about Tom Savini, and Tom Savini actually did the effects on this movie as well.
Yeah, he turned down Friday the 13th Part 2 to do it.
Which is ironic because the reason why he turned down Friday the 13th Part 2 wasn't just to work on this movie, but it was because he thought that the idea of Jason was stupid. Like, I guess in some interview I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how he initially was like, "Why, the kid's dead, like, he jumped out of the water, like, it's over. He was dead, like, it was a dream. Like, bringing him back? That's a horrible idea. That'll never work."
Well, I think he might have stated that, but also I think the original, like, writer or director of the movie also stated that.
Yeah,
it's
probably.
like a lot of people that worked on Friday the 13th were like, how are you going to make a sequel to this? And they I think somebody ended up making a decision where they're like, I'll just kind of be done with this, and then it turned around into what it was, and they're like, that was the worst decision of my life, because apparently people like watching stupid shit. And I'll be the first to admit, you know what? I love the Friday the 13th movies because they're stupid.
Actually, to this day, too, the Friday the 13th movies are having, I don't know if it's like copyright or something with the copyright laws are put into place because somebody who worked on the original ones or owns some part of Jason, like, never gave them permission to make a video game out of it. So the video game was never able to be completed because of this.
Well, yeah, I think it was the most recent one that was created. Say, like, basically you get you get however many people, and I mean, it was just released, I think, last year or the year before that on like Xbox and PlayStation 4
Yep,
and stuff like that.
that's when I got
The
it.
game looked pretty cool, but I found out pretty quickly that people stopped playing it almost immediately. So
Yeah,
like,
because
there's no reason to play it because it has like it's a multiplayer only type of thing.
yeah, it's not a bad game. I enjoyed playing it. It's just it does get old really quick because there's only so much you can really do.
Yeah.
But back to the burning. You said you didn't like this very much, but what'd you think of Jason Alexander with hair playing a jock?
Well, I mean, different time, different body type. Just, he is cool. I mean, again, I think it's a night and day difference between Friday the 13th and The Burning that I felt like they had more real actors, whereas Friday the 13th had just people that, they pull out of a lineup. Here's $500. We're going to pay you to be in this movie, and you're going to be in this movie. And you're going to scream when we tell you to scream, and you're going to get an arrow stuck through your neck when we decide you're going to get an arrow stuck through your neck. So, again, too much story substance for me on a slasher film. That's why I didn't particularly like The Burning.
Well,
But everything about it, like slasher-wise, was great. I thought that stuff was
yeah,
all
like
cool. It's just like there was way too much everything else.
I do have to admit the part of this movie that I can't stand the most is the ending. Like the last 10 to 15 minutes are just pretty fucking terrible. But everything else leading up to that, I feel like it's not paced that poorly. Because a lot of these movies, when you rewatch them, they do have slow middles usually. There's usually not a lot that happens, and then they just kind of like save everything so they can blow their load at the end, so to speak. Because like with the raft scene and all the other characters and whatnot. But it's funny that you keep talking about the quality of actors that they had compared to the other ones and how they focus on the characters. Because I do like a lot of the characters in this one because they are more like fun and entertaining to be put in a movie with for so long, except for that goddamn main character, the little creepy pervert kid who always like spies on girls in the shower. Like that's the one dude everybody wants to fucking die in this movie, and he's the only one that lives in the movie.
Yeah, he was definitely pretty annoying, but I mean that was part of his like shtick, I guess you could call it.
I don't know. I feel like they could have. That's like the only actor in the movie where it's like you could have just like gotten somebody else. Was it Brian?
No, I thought he played the part well, and it's like just the character you want to get in and pick on, and that's what everybody did in the movie. He was a goober.
Yeah, the one dude who always, what's his face, Glazer, always picking on him.
Oh yeah, the big dumb jock guy.
Yeah. The dude who was in the Spider-Man movie is the wrestling promoter.
Barely. But, I mean, it was cool. Like, Fisher Stevens was in it. I like that guy.
Yeah.
Jason Alexander, like we already said. Holly Hunter was in it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that are, like, in this movie. And if you look at, again, compared to Friday the 13th, you've got Kevin Bacon. And that's it.
Betsy Palmer, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, but, I mean, she was in the movie for, 2.5 minutes at the end?
Technically, she's in the whole thing.
Technically, she's not because it was a body double and it wasn't actually her. And
technically,
she was in the movie
you
for
weren't
like
there when
minutes.
they were filming it, so you don't know that for sure. So
I kind of feel like she wasn't because.
You never know.
Oh, I feel like I do know because I was obviously there. You weren't even born yet, so.
You don't know this, so yeah.
Definitely know it. I was there. You weren't born yet, so.
Did you see me get birthed?
I mean, I was there.
So, speaking of 80s slasher films, have you ever seen Sleepaway Camp?
Nope.
That's another one of those interesting slasher films. Not as good as any of the other ones, but has the biggest what the fuck ending that you'll probably see in a slasher movie of its time.
I doubt it because I don't think I'll ever see it.
I don't doubt it, because if you did see it, when you get to the ending, everybody goes, what the fuck? It's Angela's boy. That's the ending. There you
I
go.
don't know what that means. I don't get it.
She has a penis. That's what it means.
I don't understand the reference.
It's ma'am.
Oh my god.
So, anyways, since I disagreed with you on Friday the 13th and you disagreed with me on The Burning, let's move on to a movie that we both can agree on. Let's talk about Nightmare on Elm Street, which is
Yay.
probably. Actually, it's really hard for me to choose between this one and Halloween, but I would have to lean more towards Halloween just as a movie, but Nightmare on Elm Street as a series is easily my favorite. And I really like Freddy Krueger because growing up watching the movies, what drew me to them was the creativity that they could put into the kills and the effects that they were putting in the movie. Because it wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna stab this character and now they're dead. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna stab this character and now they're dead. It's like, no, Freddy Krueger can turn into a giant worm. He can suck you into a bed and spit you and regurgitate you, and he can just do a lot of like really cool, interesting things that make the kills a lot more like nightmarish and
Well, even just like the weird,
cool.
like gross shit that they would do too. Like when he gets his mouth and like turns it into the phone and it like just starts licking her
Yep.
and it's like, ew, like that shit's gross.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, again, I think that I Freddy Krueger is just such a different take on the,
He's a rock
slasher
star.
villain
Because he's like
because
the only one that actually talked too. He had a
yeah,
voice.
talks and has like a personality other
Yeah.
than just walking around in a mask. So yeah, but yeah, some of the stuff they do in the first movie and the whole series just kind of makes you just like shiver. Like that's kind of gross, but
Yeah.
it's funny as hell because his personality is hilarious.
Well, Robert Englund is the reason why Freddy Krueger became a rock star. Like he was
Oh, absolutely.
huge in like the 80s and the 90s. Like I can't even imagine being Robert Englund walking around during that time because people probably like loved him and hated him. They showed it a little bit in New Nightmare. They were kind of being meta about it, but I don't know. Like that character is just it just works so well in these movies too because they went from being kind of I don't know creepy and especially in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, it's very religious, which there's a interesting story behind that. But to just being like funny and weird and just like the bug scene in the fourth one when he turns the girl who's bench pressing into a cockroach and then smashes her, just doing like weird shit like that or smashing the girl's head through the TV. Like the movies just kind of became a goof on themselves almost.
Yeah, they definitely did not take the genre very seriously, but I
No.
think that was kind of the thing that they had going for it is that, I mean, again, you don't make 8, 9, 10 movies in a series without having something, positive to say about it, and I think the biggest thing that they had here was they had a character who, above and beyond all the rest.
And honestly, I think that's where the Saw movies failed, is because they took themselves way too serious. Whereas like
But
Friday,
how did they fail, though? They had, like,
those movies were
9 freaking movies. They wouldn't make
yeah
9 movies if they weren't successful.
they make money, but that doesn't mean any of them are fun or good or like even interesting to watch. That's why all the
Well,
movies started
but
making less and less money as they came out because people are like, these movies just suck.
yeah, but they're still making money, and unfortunately, that's part of the business.
That's why Michael Bay still makes movies.
Well, that's why a lot of people still make movies.
Uwe Boll. Actually, Uwe Boll has kind of redeemed himself a little bit. He's made some decent stuff recently. But
He
anyways,
has not.
yeah, he has. Have you seen Rampage?
No.
You should watch Rampage. And I'm not talking about the Dwayne Johnson Rampage. I'm talking about the
Rampage President Down?
no, not that one. The first one.
What is this even supposed to be about?
It's like a mass shooter dude just kind of going on a rampage for some weird political reasons.
So he stopped making movies based on video games.
Yes, and he
Well,
started making decent movies.
then good for him.
Yeah. It's Rampage from 2009. It's actually a really good movie.
Is
I
it
would
better than
actually,
Blubberella?
I wouldn't say really good. What the hell's Blubberella?
It's a movie that he made called Blubberella.
I really want to see it.
Oh my god, this looks terrible.
It's got a 2.4.
It's got Clint Howard in it.
Clint Howard's in a lot of movies. It doesn't make it right.
Oh, poor Clint Howard.
I love Clint Howard. Have you ever seen, actually, I know you haven't seen it, but The Ice Cream Man with Clint Howard?
No.
You should watch The Ice Cream Man with Clint Howard. It's one of the best movies he's ever done. He plays a dude who
Is he an ice cream man?
He thinks he is. He gets out of the insane asylum, and he thinks he's an ice cream man, and he uses that as a way to murder people.
This guy's been in 248 movies.
It's not enough. He should be in 248 more.
He's got like 6 or 7 in like post-production. Jesus.
This is the best player I've seen since Joe Montana. I mean Joe Montana? That's what I said.
That's what I said.
Anyways, so when Wes Craven was really young, he was like very sickly, and he had to be in the hospital for quite some time. And while he was in the hospital, like he just basically read a lot of books and did a lot of writing, and basically just like that's where he kind of honed his inner demon, I guess you could say. And eventually, when he got older and started making movies, he made his first movie, The Last House on the Left, which was a very, very angry and disturbing and just violent film. And he kept making movies like Hills Have Eyes and all that, which Hills Have Eyes was not that good. But then he eventually made Nightmare on Elm Street. And growing up as well, his mother was very religious. But after he became sick, he kind of denounced God in a way. And he started to get very angry about religion because he kind of feels like, why would a God do this to a young kid like himself, and kind of put him in that position where he could almost die and has to spend all that time in a hospital. So that's why when he was making Nightmare on Elm Street, kind of about like suburban life and all that he puts in a lot of like crosses in the movie and keeps that sort of religious undertone, and that's what he's kind of playing on to kind of create the fear in the people watching it, is by kind of playing with the idea of suburban life and turning religion upside down on its head and trying to make it kind of a statement about God and religion in general, which I thought was kind of interesting. And also, do you know where the idea for Freddy Krueger came from?
Probably from Wes Craven's Dream.
No. He was actually a young child again, and there was a strange man standing outside of his window one night. And the man was just staring directly up at the window, like right at him. And it was some like homeless dude, and he said he was wearing like a red and green sweater and whatnot. And so he just like shut the curtain and like laid back in bed, like terrified, like, this man's like staring at me. And then a couple minutes later, he looked again, and the dude's still staring at the window, just waiting for him, just being really creepy. And he said that's where the idea came from. But the other thing that it came from was he read stories about people dying in their sleep. I think it was in Cambodia. They were doing like trials to see something about like insomnia or whatnot, but people ended up like dying in their sleep. I can't remember. But he saw that, and he put those two experiences and stories together to create Freddy Krueger.
Well, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's weird, though, that he was only really attached to the first one and then New Nightmare. Everything else, it was just... I don't think he really had much to do with any of the sequels or anything.
I think he had something to do with Dream Warriors, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, he was an executive producer.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of like, okay. But... yeah, I mean, I always thought that those were, they're slasher-type movies, but they've just got that like element of science fiction and more comedy too. That again, I don't think you can really compare Nightmare on Elm Street to Halloween the same way you could compare Halloween to Friday the 13th because they're so different.
I think you can in a way, especially if you're going towards the science fiction element. Have you ever seen Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers?
I don't think so.
Don't.
Halloween is definitely one of the franchises that I've seen the least of.
This is the one with Paul Rudd in it. That's right. Paul Rudd's first movie was Halloween 6.
Oh my god. I'm going to have to see it now.
I believe he has to apologize for it whenever anybody brings it up. It's not a good movie.
Oh my god. Now I want to see it so bad.
Don't. I said the same thing. It was the biggest mistake of my life. It's really fucking bad. Like, really bad.
I can't even find it like in a search. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Oh my god.
Yeah. But
1995.
Yeah, of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies though, like 1 and 3, even though they tonally go completely opposite directions, I love each of them. Like, I fucking love Dream Warriors. And even Dream Masters was pretty good, number 4. Number 5 and 6 were pretty goddamn terrible. And then New Nightmare's great. I love New Nightmare. I know you don't like New Nightmare very much, from what I remember.
What? I thought it was cool.
I thought you said you didn't like it.
No, I definitely think I thought it was good. Which one don't I like? I think I like Dream Master or Dream Warriors. I think one of
Dream Warriors is the one with
Lawrence
Fishburne.
The one with Lawrence Fishburne?
Yep, that's Dream Warriors.
Yep.
That one's awesome because that's the one with the like he turns into the giant worm. He got the stupid little D&D dude who's like, I'm a wizard in my dreams.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of my favorites because I thought it was cool that they kind of like fought back in their dreams and like did some cool shit. But
yeah, and that one's also like where the creativity started coming along with like Freddy's kills and whatnot because you have like the puppeteering scene when the dude's like tendons come out of his arms and legs and he's being walked to kill himself. Yeah, like that stuff's awesome. And the TV scene when he smashes the girl's head in, like, welcome to prime time, bitch. And you got that stupid kid who's like, I'm a wizard in my dreams again. I don't know, that was just like the first one where things got really like cool and memorable and like really fucking fun.
Yeah, they got like bonkers, but bonkers in a good way.
Yeah, and they kind of keep up with it in Dream Master, which is the 4th one, which that one's pretty fun too. It's not nearly as good though, but that's the one, like I said earlier, where like the girl gets turned into a cockroach and her arms like bend in half and like kind of like morphs out like insect arms, like just weird gross shit. You got the girl with the pizza face.
Yep.
Or her face gets sucked out and then like all the souls get put on a pizza, like they're little pepperonis. Like just stupid shit. But then you have like number 2, which was just terrible. That's the one that tried to be like a straight up slasher film. It did like nothing with the Freddy character. Tried to make him more of like an idea, trying to be like pushed into some kid's body. Number 5 was pretty bad. Number 6 was just god awful.
Except for Paul Rudd. Clu Gulager was in number 2.
Paul Rudd wasn't in number 6. You're talking about Halloween.
Oh yeah, that's Halloween 6.
Yeah, Clu Gulager was in, he played the dad in number 2.
Clu Gulager.
Which, speaking of which, we didn't talk about Lynn Shay. Did you catch Lynn Shay in Nightmare on Elm Street?
Lynn Shay. Yeah, she was, wasn't she like an orderly or something? Wait, maybe I'm thinking about the wrong movie. Hang on.
Do you even know who Lynn Shay is?
Yes, we went over that. She's the teacher. Yeah, she's Magda from There's Something About Mary. Yeah. She's in like everything.
She's in everything because her brother produced all the movies that she's in. Her brother Bob Shay was the owner of New Line Cinema, And whenever a movie was being made, he would put in a cameo for his sister, Lin Shaye. So she basically became an icon in the genre because she would pop up everywhere.
She was on Snakes on a Plane. Yes.
Yeah, she was. She was the flight attendant.
Talk about best slasher movies ever.
Fucking love Lin Shaye.
Get the snake off my ass.
Yeah. You just gotta suck out the venom. I got a bite too.
Jeez. Oh, man.
That movie came out on my birthday.
She's in Critters, too.
Yeah, she's in Critters 1.
Was she?
Yeah. She's in every single New Line Cinema movie. Like, literally, every single one. And I actually listened to a podcast that she was on, and her, fuck would you call it? Audition process is really cool. Because every character that she is trying to play, like, even though her brother's going to put her in all the movies, she still took, like, everything 100% serious. Like, she would go in there with props. She would go in with a wig and, like, try to become a new character and just try something crazy and weird. And that's why, like, every movie you see her in, she's, like, a completely new person. Like, you almost don't even recognize her in the movie she's in. Like, you were saying Magda, and there's something about Mary and her role in, like, Kingpin. Like, you wouldn't think those are the same person when you're looking at those movies. But she would go in there just, like, as these weird characters. She wouldn't go in as herself. She would go in as the character and just pretend like she's the character the whole casting process, which I think is just really cool.
Yeah. And that's why she's been around for so long.
That's why she's still around. Like, she's not in movies because of her brother anymore. She's in movies because she's a fun actress. She's great. She's awesome. But unfortunately, she's doing all those shitty Insidious movies.
Yeah, she's been in all those lately. It looks like she might be doing like a Grudge remake or something.
Yeah, I see that too.
Hey, stop remaking stuff. It's stupid.
Well, it makes money. That's name of the game. So let's move on.
She's in a movie called Noobs. That was the one with the... Oh my god, was that Jason Mewes and Casper Van Dien? Yes! Oh my god.
What?
This movie looked amazing. I've never seen it. But it's called Noobs. It's got Jason Mewes and Casper Van Dien. So Casper Van Dien, I believe, plays like the antagonist who is on like a competing video game team of the like nerd group.
And he plays himself.
They go to like some sort of video game competition, and I guess Casper Van Dien is like the bad guy that they have to beat or something. It looks so amazing.
So you're telling me Casper Van Dien's been in 2 movies in his entire life, or 3 movies because of Sleepy Hollow, and yes. This was one of the 3.
3 movies. Wait. Noobs, Sleepy Hollow,
holy shit.
And Starship Troopers.
He's in Alita, the Battle Angel. What?
Yeah, he was in the Tarzan movie too. He's been in like a whole bunch of stuff.
What? I didn't know he was in that. I now need to go see that movie.
Apparently he was in...
That's fucking awesome.
He's been in like 3 or 4 different Starship Troopers movies too.
Yeah, but those all count as one.
Kind of.
No,
Sharktopus versus Werewolf.
I was just about to say that. And it's
Mortal Kombat Legacy, he was Johnny Cage.
It's Werewolf.
It's kind of a movie.
Werewolf. Oh, speaking of which, there's a story in the news about this, I can't remember. Oh, it's in Michigan. There's a moose in Michigan that the state needs to kill. So they've been airdropping in wolves to kill them. So dropping them out of airplanes. So everybody in the comments section has been talking about Jan Michael Vincent and his movie Airwolf. And how Jan Michael Vincent would be proud to know that they're airdropping in wolves.
That's probably where they got the idea from.
Was from the movie? I hope so.
No.
Oh, it's a TV show. Whoops.
It's still not the same thing. No, this was, it looks like...
Yeah, Ernest Borgnine?
It looks like they had a movie and a TV show.
This sounds like the greatest thing in the world. It's got Ernest
doesn't.
Borgnine and Jan Michael Vincent.
Anyways,
I don't actually think I've
track.
seen a Jan Michael Vincent movie now that I think about it. Other than Buffalo 66, which was a good-ass movie. It was a good movie. Good flick.
back on track.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, amazing. Let's move on to Halloween, which
Halloween, which was basically
take place on
Escape
February
from
13th.
Escape from New York with a masked killer.
I wouldn't say that at all, other than the fact that it has the same director. But nice try.
It had such the same vibe because of all like the tones and the music and stuff like that. And it's kind of cool because if you compare Halloween and Friday the 13th, they're like opposite. Where Halloween and John Carpenter always has that filler sort of background music going on, whereas Friday the 13th was very quiet until the killer was on screen, and then it had like, you know, music or chimes and stuff like that.
Well, you
so
know,
two completely different ways to like set the tone.
Did you know the first time that they screened Halloween, they didn't have the music done for it, and people didn't think it was very good, and then they showed it with the music, and people thought it was like the scariest movie of all time?
I'm definitely not saying that like there's any wrong way to do it. That's kind of what I saw. The huge difference between the two movies is the constant noise that Halloween had and Friday the 13th doesn't. It's kind of cool to see two completely different ways of handling that aspect of the film, and they both made it work in their own way.
I would actually say that if you watch Halloween, you'll notice that the music is only there in the moments when Michael is present. There's actually not as much music as you think at times, because
I kind of feel like they had this shit going all the time.
No, there's a lot of stuff in the beginning where there is no music, especially the dialogue when Jamie Lee Curtis and her friends are like talking and going about and whatnot. The only times that the music really starts is when Michael's present in any of the scenes. And that's why like the whole second half of the movie, the music is more constant, is because he's always lurking somewhere. And that's why you're like meant to be afraid at those moments. It's not like in the beginning where it's like somebody will come up and it'll be like, jump scare! Like, we're going to start playing the music because a character came in. It's like, no, they're only playing the music when he's around or present. Or the opening scene when he's a child.
I kind of feel like I have to disagree, and I feel like I'd be the expert on it because I'm the one who fell asleep last night twice while trying to watch this movie.
I would feel like you're not an expert about it because of that exact reason. Because they don't.
In the same night.
They do play the music a fuck ton in this movie, and the music I think is the best part about this movie to me personally. But I don't think they played as much as you think. Because there's a lot of silence. There's even a kill in the movie when the girl's being strangled that's just completely silent. Because then she falls forward on the steering wheel and just starts honking the horn. And it's just dead silence throughout the whole thing. You just hear them like breathing and choking.
Yeah, I totally remember that because I didn't fall asleep twice watching this movie last night.
I know you remember that because
you remember that part.
Told me that 100%. You definitely didn't fall asleep watching it last night.
Definitely fell asleep twice.
Did you see the new Halloween?
Dude, I was tired.
Did you see the new Halloween?
The one that I just fell asleep watching twice last night?
No, the one from 2018?
No, I have not seen it.
It's not that good.
I think that's what you told me, and that's why I haven't seen it.
I mean,
it didn't look good either. I mean, like, even the trailer, I was just kind of like, okay, that looks not good. Like, no, that kind of just looks stupid.
Yeah, the thing that they really messed up on it was just a lot towards the end when they try to do this big twist and then they totally disregard the twist. The twist makes no sense. And they could have just done without it and it would have just been a better movie. And the other thing that I thought just didn't work at all was that they were trying to continue on from the original and keep Michael Myers a faceless killer and give him no motive, and then they show his face in the opening scene. I thought that was stupid. Like,
yeah, that's kind of dumb.
What the fuck are you doing?
I just couldn't get around the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis looked like a white version of Medea.
She kind of does.
I wouldn't just make that up.
She really does.
Especially with the long hair that she had, like, and the glasses. I was like, is this
that's
like a Medea Halloween movie?
Percent Medea. It's
But
Halloween.
contrary to most people's
Oh
beliefs, I
my
actually thought
god.
that the Halloween version that Rob
Medea
Zombie
made?
came out with were pretty awesome. Like I actually really liked those movies.
I didn't really care for those ones either.
Yep, I know because you probably fell asleep watching them.
No, I stayed away. I'm actually wearing my Halloween Rob Zombie t-shirt right now as we do this podcast, ironically enough. But yeah, I didn't care for those ones either because,
I thought they were great.
well, whereas like the new remake, they did go in the right direction of trying to keep him an anonymous character and have no motive. The thing that I really disliked about the Rob Zombie version is they tried to give him way too much motive. Like, he was beaten as a kid and he had a tough childhood and he got bullied in school and that's why he became a serial killer. It's like, no. Maybe he's just a fucked up kid who got bored one day and was like, I'm gonna start killing people. And that's a lot scarier and creepy. Like,
Yeah,
he's
I mean,
just
I
pure
can
evil.
definitely understand that part. And the kid part of it was kind of.
The
I
kid
mean,
part of it was
most of that stuff
dumb.
was mediocre, but I just thought like the ambiance of it and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I mean, the
No,
kill
I.
sequences were awesome. The second one was a lot better because they moved
What?
quite a bit further away from, like the first one had the backstory of the kid and stuff like that, but the second one was more just like, hey, he's just gonna go around killing people.
Wait. You liked Halloween too?
The Rob Zombie version,
Yeah.
I mean, it was watchable in a sense that
Uh,
it's like that type of movie.
I was
It's not like
I was about
a
to
great
agree with
movie by
you.
any standard.
I was about to agree with you on the ambiance part of the first one and all that because I think Rob Zombie does have a cool style that he's kind of like a gritty kind of throwback grindhouse vibe to all of his movies. But Halloween 2 is just garbage. That movie was not good at all. He even said in interviews, he's like, "Yeah, I don't know why I threw in that like white pony. I just thought it would look cool." Like he didn't even give a shit.
It's watchable.
Do you know
I
which
watched
one?
it. I seen it.
Do you know which one I actually really liked, but every single person hates, and they hate it for the wrong reason, in my opinion?
The remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Jessica Biel.
I actually like that movie.
Everybody does. It's good. It's
It's
fucking creepy.
I have to admit I did like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, but no, Halloween 3. I love Halloween 3, even though it has nothing to do with Michael Myers or the Halloween series. Blah 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 blah
Is that
blah.
the Season of the Witch one?
Yeah, with the killer masks. Like it's the company that makes the masks that like basically turn people into worms.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually even seen this.
It's fucking fun. If you
It looks
watch it as a
dumb.
movie that isn't a Halloween film, like it's just a lot of fun. It's entertaining. It's got a weird, creepy score to it, and it's got Tom Atkins. Like it's not as bad as
Yeah, but
everybody
you
says.
also said that about Feast.
Feast is awesome. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's true. No, that's true.
Yeah.
I'll
Like
give you
what's
that.
wrong with you? But I don't know. I like Season of the Witch. Everybody shit on it, so I guess when I watched it, like I was just expecting it to be terrible. I can
So
understand.
does this have anything to do with Michael Myers at all?
No. So what
Then
was
how the hell is it Halloween 3?
well, what was happening when they were making them was the Halloween movies were meant to be like a seasonal anthology sort of thing. So they each one was supposed to have like a different story. It just so happens that Halloween 2 continued the story of the first one, and since slasher movies were gaining a lot of growth cuz Halloween was like the big one that got the slasher movies going even though Black Christmas came out like 4 years before it. And then Friday the 13th came out, which was actually a ripoff of the success of Halloween, ironically enough, with the whole the burning and the faceless thing going on. But that movie became a huge success too. So they made Halloween 2, and then everybody's kind of more focused on franchises at this point. So when Halloween 3 came out, fans got really disappointed because they were expecting Michael Myers, and then they got Tom Atkins
Yeah, like
battling.
a continuation of it.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But that's not what they got, so people got really pissed off about it. Which is
Yeah, I'm even
understandable.
looking through like all these other ones. Honestly, I don't even think I've seen Halloween 2, Halloween 4, 5. I've seen H2O, and I know I saw Halloween Resurrection. Those were both pretty awful.
Resurrection's terrible. H2O is pretty fun. You got
It's really bad.
JGL gets hit in the face. Joseph Gordon-Levitt gets hit in the face with a hockey skate.
Oh yeah, he gets smoked.
He gets skated. 4 and 5 are actually fun for a nostalgic level. They're like terrible slasher movies, but I remember watching them as a kid, and I really enjoy the just because of the music. Like I just like watching the Halloween movies in general, just because they keep that music going, and I always just really like that score because it reminds me of when we were kids and we would go to Six Flags Great America during Halloween, and they would always be playing that song.
It is pretty eerie.
Yeah, I just get like a nostalgic feeling watching these movies because of that shit. Ugh. And then you have the theme song to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which I'm going to play for you right now. Once it loads. In just a second.
Dead air time.
Here it comes. After this commercial, which will be another 2 seconds.
Oh my god, I remember this from like the trailer of this movie.
I gotta say, that's probably one of the best theme songs I've ever heard.
That is awful. It's like something you would see at like a Chuck E. Cheese knockoff.
That's the point.
Didn't have the animatronic figures functioning correctly.
That's the point because the movie is about this like company selling masks that'll kill the people who wear them, and like that's their advertisement for it was this stupid little jingle. Happy, happy
Oh my
Halloween,
god, I just realized the
Shamrock.
person who directed Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, also directed Vampires Los Muertos, with none other than John Bon Jovi as the lead star. Oh my god. That is amazing.
Tommy Lee Wallace.
That is the second franchise, or second movie of John Carpenter that he has done a sequel for.
And he directed Fright Night Part 2.
No.
Which I've never actually seen. Fright Night's awesome.
I don't think anybody's actually seen it.
I don't know about that.
I feel like nobody's seen it.
He actually made it, and John Bon Jovi's actually in the fucking movie.
Yeah, Vampires Los Muertos.
Oh my god. Why does this guy love John Carpenter so much?
Who, John Bon Jovi?
Well, him and Tommy Lee Wallace. He was the second unit director, or assistant, what the fuck? Oh, or assistant director for Big Trouble in Little China. He was a ghost in the movie The Fog.
Ew, I'm a ghost. Ew.
Well, I gotta pull up the best part about
was he Michael Myers in the first one?
Was he?
I think we've nailed it. Indeed.
Did you hear that?
I heard something.
Lopan agrees. Indeed. Anyways.
Yeah, it looks like he was uncredited, but he was Michael Myers. So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Look at that.
They were best
Good for
friends.
him.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Halloween's just, of all the slasher movies, probably my favorite. But it's hard for me to choose between that one and Nightmare on Elm Street because I enjoy the series of Nightmare on Elm Street more, even though I like more films in the Halloween series. They just, I don't know. When I think of Halloween, I think of the first one.
I kind of feel like they're two. They might both be slasher, genres, but
yeah, they're not
I
the
see
same.
them completely differently.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there. But I love the first Halloween. It's a movie I watch it at least once a year, every Thanksgiving.
Well, I watched part of it this year.
Twice, actually.
Twice.
Hey.
2 times.
Doses.
I fell asleep once, went back for seconds, fell asleep again.
Did you just, get bored?
No, I was fucking hammered.
Oh, well, dabble do you. Let's move on to Scream.
Ooh, Scream. Another Wes Craven
Yeah.
concoction.
Which it's kind of funny if you look at Wes Craven's career, he made a lot of really bad movies, but he also made a lot of genre defining movies.
If you say Swamp Thing is a bad movie, I will kick you in the
I've
crotch.
never seen Swamp Thing, but I'm thinking more along the lines of what is that?
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that
It's
one.
pretty bad.
The werewolf movie Cursed. That's pretty fucking bad.
Wasn't that with,
Jesse Eisenberg? I
yes.
think so. Was he in that?
Yes. Yeah, I have it, like, in a multi-horror pack thing, but I haven't watched it yet.
And it has
But
Christina
because
Ricci.
I bought it because it has Phantoms and it had the Faculty.
Yeah, Ben
And all
Affleck
this
was the
other
bomb
stuff.
in Phantoms, yo.
Definitely was.
He also made that movie you love, My Soul to Take.
No, that movie's terrible. I bought 2 copies of it for $1 each, gave one to you, and I kept one for myself. I would have had more fun lighting $2 bills on fire.
But Wes Craven also made Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, People
The
Under
Hills
the
Have
Stairs.
Eyes.
Yeah, well, Hills Have Eyes wasn't that genre defining or that great,
That
but
was still pretty fucked up.
yeah. Oh well, then Last House on the Left, you can put that there. Just all the Scream movies, which were just obviously huge in the '90s. They changed the entire scope of where horror films headed for the next decade.
Well, because again, I think that it kind of had another spin to it where I think Wes Craven has a very humorous element to most of his movies that, Scream never took itself that serious. And the only
No,
reason why they had so many of those is because people kept paying to watch it.
yeah,
And
and
it's like, all right, let's make another one.
it
All right,
really
let's make
helped
another
with Kevin Williamson writing because his script really helped out with the movie a lot with where it got taken and with all the dialogue and everybody referencing themselves almost the fact that they're in a movie.
Yeah, well, think about it too, how rare it is to have the same director for,
4 movies.
that many movies, and especially across that span of time. I mean, the
Same
first one came
same
out
writer
in
and director
96,
actually.
and the last one came out in 2011.
Yeah,
It's quite a long time.
they all had the same writer and director, which is
Yep.
weird as well.
That's very, very rare.
Same actors and actresses too. Which actually, did you know that Courtney Cox and David Arquette met on the set of Scream, and they were divorced by the set of Scream 4?
Oh, yes.
Funny enough. Yeah, what can we talk about with Scream? It's
I don't know. I thought that they were cool. I thought,
Yeah,
I liked all the movies. I thought that they had a unique vibe to them.
they also, I think, were one of the first movies that purposely played with the tropes of the slasher genre, but intentionally tried to kind of spin them on their head. Like with the opening scene, you take the actress that would normally be the lead of your movie and kill her in the opening scene because they have that whole 10-minute scene with Drew Barrymore, and Drew Barrymore was pretty popular at the time, and then they just ended up gutting her in the opening scene. But she was billed in the movie, she's put on the poster and everything to
Yep.
make people think that she was going to be the star of the film, and then they just kill her in the
And
opening scene.
that's why I think it's cool that, even all the tones of, the kind of kids being in school and they're talking about film, they're in film class, they're always like into that stuff, and the
Yep.
reason why they became killers was because they watched too many scary movies, and it's like it's a movie that constantly makes fun of itself but still is so serious that it's freaking creepy.
You know, TV shows don't make people killers. Canceling TV shows does.
Yeah,
That was a really
That's
good
bang.
show. You're
I
stabbing
mean,
me, man.
this movie also had Henry Winkler, for
I'm
God's
getting a
sake.
little woozy here.
Get loose. Cut me too deep.
I think I'm dying, man. But one of my favorite scenes of this movie is when Jamie Kennedy is having his little sit down and he's watching Halloween and all that, and everybody leaves because they find out that the principal Henry Winkler just got hung from the football.
Goalposts.
Yeah, from the goalpost. And which they're all happy. They're like, let's go see him dead. Yay! And then he's like, fine, I'll sit here and watch this movie by myself. And then you have the killer behind him, and he's talking to Jamie Lee Curtis. He's like, come on, Jamie, just turn around. Jamie, what are you doing? Just turn around. I always thought that was really stupid and funny. Just the super meta nature of it, where he's actually talking to his own character, whose actor is named Jamie. But he's talking to Jamie Lee Curtis. Another fun thing about this movie, did you know that him and Kevin Smith had little nods to each other in each of their movies?
Wes Craven and Kevin Smith?
Yep. Because in Clerks, Clerks or Mallrats, one of the two, Kevin Smith puts in one of Wes Craven's movies, like Nightmare on Elm Street or something like that in the background. And if you watch the scene I was just talking about with Jamie Kennedy, there's a copy of Clerks there. So then in another one of Kevin Smith movies, he would put in Wes Craven, then Wes Craven would put in one of his movies. And then in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, they literally put Wes Craven in the movie because they're on the New Line Cinema set for the new Scream movie. And the killer ends up being a monkey, and Wes Craven's like, but people love monkeys.
I do remember that.
Yeah. Well, that's why that whole thing kind of started. And the same thing was going on with Wes Craven and Sam Raimi. So in Evil Dead 2, there's a Freddy glove in there. And in one of Wes Craven's movie, there's a poster for like the Evil Dead somewhere, and it's all ripped up and all that. And they just started like putting little nods to each other in their movies. And then him and Kevin Smith did that too, which I thought was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Little nerd humor. I wish I had more notes about it so I had like specific titles and whatnot. But yeah, if you rewatch it, there's a copy of Clerks in there, and that's because I'm pretty sure it's in Clerks or Mallrats. He has a reference to one of his movies.
Well, he probably does because didn't Randall work at the video store?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm calling to see if you have any movies. Okay, yeah, I'm looking for Coming in Socks. Backdoor Sluts 9. Oh yeah, what was that movie you were looking for? Yeah, Barney's Big Adventure. I'm on hold. I fucking love Clerks.
Hilarious.
It is pretty funny. It is humorous, as some of them would say. But yeah. Anything else you want to say about Scream other than being I like them, not love. I like the movies, and I really like the sequel too. Actually, number 3 was pretty bad.
Even the third one, like it's a little,
it's not
quite as good as the first two, but I mean it's still watchable.
Yeah, it's definitely watchable. It's just I don't know. I just never feel like watching the third one. I just never felt like that one was very good. Number 4 is pretty fun though.
Yeah, 4 definitely from being quite a ways off from the last one is still definitely good, but.
Especially
again, I think it's just like it's one of those things that's the more modernized version of a slasher film, and they did it right because I think that adding that sense of humor to the movies, but still being serious enough to those movies scare the crap out of you if you're watching it for the first time.
Do you know what the original title for Scream was?
No, but I want to say I remember it being something really, really strange.
It wasn't too strange. It was originally going to be called
Stab.
No, that's the fake movie that they make.
I thought they made the fake movie because they were going to call the movie Stab.
Actually, maybe that might be you might be onto something there. But there was a title that it was going as. It was going to be called Scary Movie. But
Oh, see, I
then
didn't know that.
and then that's why the Scary Movies became Scary Movie, and then the first one was just making fun of Scream. Let me look that
Making
up real
fun
quick.
of Scream, making fun of itself.
Yeah, let me
The
look that
scary
up.
movies were pretty funny, especially the first two.
Actually, I love number 3 as well.
The third one kind of sucked, and I knew you were gonna say that, so I was ready for it. It
Did you
sucked. It
have
was
you watched
stupid.
the third one
I've seen it.
recently?
Seen it. I've seen it. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Because it's pretty fucking funny.
It's pretty fucking stupid.
When they're doing the scene from 8 Mile, and he's looking in the mirror getting ready for the rap battle, and he opens up the bathroom door and pukes on the guy's lap, and he goes, "Motherfucker!"
Yeah, you know what's really dumb? Everything you just said.
No,
It's dumb.
wait. If that's how you say hello, then how do you say goodbye? Kicks him in the balls. Oh, I'm glad. I'm sorry I asked. If you think that's weird, you should see how we pee. Pees out his finger. Liam Neeson's like, "Oh, we're not so different, you and I." He starts peeing out his
My
finger.
God. Yeah,
The movie's
like dumbest
fucking
movie ever being
hilarious.
explained right now.
Oh my god, it's so good. But yeah, Scream. Go check it out. It's a pretty fun movie. There was something else I was about to say though. Oh yeah, so the first time I saw Scream, I had actually seen Scary Movie like 9 or 10 times before that. So unfortunately, I knew everything that was going to happen in Scream, and the opening of Scream 2. Which
Yeah, that would just about ruin it.
I think Scream 2 might actually be the first horror movie that I saw as a kid, now that I think about it. Because I remember being in a video store with Dad, and we were all looking and picking out movies and whatnot, and I was like, I want to get Scream 2. And then we rented it, and we ended up watching it.
It's a good flick.
I like that movie a lot, actually. I really like the opening scene, too, in the movie theater. When,
Oh yeah, Jada Pinkett.
yeah, she starts getting beaten up by the everybody in the theater, and they're like, "This is for the fugitive
No, that's Scary Movie.
in
That's
Big
not
Mama's
Scream.
house."
That's Scary Movie 2, not
No, I know.
Scream 2.
I know, but I really like the opening of Scream 2 because I feel like they did exactly what they were trying to do with the first one, but in another very effective way. Like when she's up on the podium and she starts screaming because she actually got stabbed to death, and everyone's like cheering her on for dying, but then they realize like it's real. There's like a strange emotional twist to that scene that I feel like is very powerful. Like the performance that she puts in and all that is very good, and I don't know. I really like that opening scene for both movies actually. But
Gee.
let's move on to Candy Dude. I actually
Candy
just
Dude.
typed in
Candyman.
Candy Dude when I was
Candyman
looking
can.
this up. The Candy
Willy
Man.
Wonka in the Chocolate Factory.
Speaking of the Chocolate Factory, that was actually Tony Todd's porn name before he became an actor.
So, the funny thing about this movie is that it has nothing to do with candy.
And it has nothing to do with a man.
And it has barely anything to do with bees, but those are the two things growing up that I always knew were associated to this movie. And the first time I watched this was the other day for this podcast. I mean, I gotta tell you, the movie's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, the movie's awesome.
But
And it's got
so
Ted Raimi in
messed
it.
Up.
You said it's messed up?
Yeah, it's like, think about it. Like,
Yeah.
you're getting possessed by this, like, demon or whatever, and you're killing people, and it's like, you're gonna go to jail.
Yeah, and the
And I
best
tell
part
you what,
is
that chick would not last in jail.
they keep telling people, yeah, whatever you do, don't look in the mirror and say Candyman 3 times. And then what does she
But-
do? Candyman. 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 And then she's surprised that somebody shows up and is like, what the fuck are you doing calling my name? Like, now I'm going to kill everybody
it was
around
5
you.
times, but yes.
Was it 5 times in this one?
It was 5 times.
Oh, okay.
Because in the beginning, when Ted Raimi's in it, which I thought was really cool because
Ted
I didn't
Raimi's
know he was
awesome.
going to be in it, and I
Yeah,
was like,
buddy.
oh my god. And so he says it 4 times, and then the chick's like, nobody ever gets past 4.
And doesn't he? Because I haven't seen this one in a long time. Because I didn't think we were gonna do it again for this. But doesn't he like appear right behind Ted Raimi, like stab him in the back and?
No, it was well, the chick says it for the 5th time, and then
Oh,
Tony
okay.
Todd, is behind her. Well, some form of Candyman kills her, and then yeah, I guess Ted Raimi never actually died. His hair just turned white because he saw Candyman. But
Okay.
anyways, the most disgusting part about this movie was the bees, and that was gross.
Not the
because
bees.
Bees. Like, he actually had bees all up in his face,
Yes, he
all up in his
did.
mouth. And
He
it's
did.
like, no thanks.
So a lot of the Clive Barker movies, because I own the Books of Blood, and the short story for Candyman is called The Forbidden. I haven't had a chance to read it to like compare the two, but a lot of Clive Barker's stories started off as short stories. So like Books of Blood turned into a movie. There's one called Dread. You have Midnight Meat Train. This one Candyman and like Rawhead Rex all started off as like short stories in his Books of Blood series. And most of them just have to do with very macabre and very dark, just tones of just appreciations of gore, almost, I guess you could say, is all, like what all of his stuff was based off of. So all these horror stories of just, like depravity is not the right word I'm looking for, but just, I don't know, just gore and horror. And a lot of his stories are really fucking good. That's actually where like the Hellraiser movies came from, was another short story of his, the novella, The Hellbound Heart, which is like another good one I'd recommend reading. It's about 100 pages. But there's something about all of his work that I really, really enjoy because he just has a very unique quality to his writing where he's very descriptive and it really paints like a picture in your head about what's going on in the scenes. And when it's put onto the screens, like in movies like Candyman, I feel like every one that's been done has been done good or well. Like, I don't know if you've seen Midnight Meat Train, but that movie's fucking awesome.
No, I haven't seen that, but I heard it was really good. The one movie of his that, like, I have never seen, but I always come across it, and I always want to see it. One of these days I gotta see it, is Nightbreed.
Yes, but do not watch the cut version. They're actually coming out with a 3-hour version of Nightbreed. Nightbreed is awesome, though. Mostly it's awesome because David Cronenberg plays a serial killer. And David Cronenberg doesn't usually do much acting.
Nope.
But he's in this one, and he's really good in it. I've never seen The Lord of Illusions. I do have to watch that one.
I don't know what that is.
That's another one that Clive Barker directed, because he didn't direct many movies.
No, yeah, he's only got a couple. I mean, the first Hellraiser, Nightbreed. Hellraiser, that's another one we could have done, but
That one's less of a slasher film to me, but yeah, that still kind of falls in the same vein.
at some point in time.
Yeah.
It's just one of those, like, horror movies that has, like, 10 sequels.
I got funny stories about Hellraiser that I don't want to talk about on this podcast.
Yeah.
But
Deal with the whiteys.
yeah,
Ain't gonna talk about that.
take that, Medea's Boo Halloween.
Featuring Jamie Lee Curtis.
I really wish she would pop up in Boo 2.
My god, that would mean you'd have to watch Boo too.
Yeah, it'll be called Medea's Boo 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh my god.
But
Stop
anyway,
giving that guy ideas.
back to... Because he's our one viewer. He's probably writing
could
this
be.
down like, oh, they're mentioning me again. I should write down this idea.
What if he does, though?
I really hope he does. If, like, one
Like,
day we
hey, I
find
hope
out...
he does. Hey, you know what? Guess what? Tyler Perry, if you're actually listening, like, let's have a sit down. Let's have a conversation.
Honestly,
Why
Tyler
don't
Perry,
we
if you're...
make this work.
If you're listening to this, I'm shitting on your Medea films, but you as an actor, when you pop up in movies, I think we said this on the last podcast, I appreciate what you do. He's good. He's good.
He's one of those, like, kind of token guys just kind of shows up and is like, hey, he did a good job. The Star Trek movies, I thought it was hilarious. I mean, he was serious. There's nothing funny about his performance, but I thought it was hilarious because it was him.
Just because it's him.
Yeah, it's
Do you
like,
know
oh, this
who's
is not fair.
also hilarious when he pops up in random movies? Tony Todd.
Tony Todd is awesome.
I love Tony Todd. That dude's great. And I told you the story off the mic, but I'll tell it again for the sake of it. I got to meet Tony Todd at a horror convention with Mom, and this was around the time when
I heard
Tony.
he's a really nice guy.
I thought he was nice, but Mom didn't like him because he was mean to his brother. His brother is the stand-in for like all of his movies because like height-wise they're about the same, body-wise they're about the same. So whenever they need somebody for like lighting purposes, his brother would do it, or his brother would be a stunt double and whatnot. And his brother was there, and we were waiting in line just talking to him, and he was just kind of like, "Oh, people want to talk to me and hear my story," and he was like really excited to talk to us and everything, and he was like really nice and humble. And then he ended up taking the picture for Mom, Tony Todd, and I, and he like was shaking while he was doing it because he didn't want to mess up the picture, and then he ended up taking a very blurry picture, and then Tony Todd just goes. Gives a very deep, audible sigh.
It's like funny because I could just hear him doing that.
That's exactly what he does. He's like, and then he said something along the lines of, "You can't be messing up these photos all the time." I can't do the low voice, but he's like, "You can't be messing up photos." So he's being like kind of mean to his brother, just going. So then his brother ended up taking the picture eventually, and we walked away, and Mom's like, "I didn't like that Tony Todd guy. He wasn't nice to his brother."
Well, I mean, all you got to do is take a picture.
Yeah, I mean, there's that.
It's not too much to ask.
It's just a funny experience, though. Because you could tell that Tony Todd was taking pictures with a bunch of people all day, and he didn't want to keep taking pictures, and he was just like, "I don't want to do this shit." No, but Tony Todd's great. I was telling you too. He appears in like that show Holliston. He's in the Hatchet movies. He's in Final Destination. The Rock.
He was in Platoon.
Yeah, he was in Platoon. He's been in a whole bunch of movies.
He's been in a lot, yeah.
But unfortunately, like his career never made him like an A-lister or anything, and he kept getting more roles in like the horror films. But I mean, obviously, he likes being in the horror films and everything. That's.
Well, I mean, when you got that type of voice, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, buddy, your physical being was made for one thing, and that's for talking and creeping people the fuck out.
Yeah.
So
And
why don't you go ahead and say this line, creep people out, and we'll move on with our lives.
And I think for him, like, it just ended up working out better that way because he ended up getting more appreciation as a horror icon than he did in movies like The Rock or Platoon. Like, people forget that he was in those movies, unless you're like a fan. I don't either because we're fans of the genres. But, like, most people don't think of Tony Todd for his serious roles. They think of him for his horror roles, which is honestly where he shined, where he got more typecasted. And I'm glad that he was able to, especially with like the Final Destination movies, he was able to find that kind of avenue that gave him more exposure and more appreciation from like fans and whatnot. Because I mean, he's actually a really good fucking actor. Because he is just creepy.
Well, even just like the minute and a half that he was on screen for Final Destination is being
and he's the most memorable part of the movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's like, I mean, pretty sure he's even in like the trailer for the movie.
I think so.
It's like that's his whole part. Like he just talks creepy. He looks at you, and then at the end, he's just like, "See you soon." It's like, ooh.
Well, and the thing with the Final Destination movies, Death is the main character, but Death doesn't have a face in the movies. Whenever you put a face to the Final Destination movies, it's Tony Todd. Even though he's not a bad guy, he's just
and I think that they actually rolled that into the movies as they moved on, because he actually then becomes like the voice of, like the evil entity that's causing all of this. So they kind of like merged it into like, hey, we kind of had him and we insinuated that he was up to no good. Guess what? Yeah, it was him the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, didn't they try to do something like that in number 5?
I forget which one it was, but I know that they definitely merged like his voice into being just kind of like the bad guy.
Something weird like that.
And he was in number 5 because I don't think he was really in number 3 or 4. I can't remember, but yeah, he was definitely in number 5. But those movies went off the deep end pretty quick.
Yeah, he wasn't in number 3 then. Now that I think about it, was he?
Huh. It looks like he's credited as like a voice, but I don't think he was actually in it.
No, he wasn't.
in it. He was in the first 2 for sure.
He was the voice of the roller coaster they're getting on, because there's a devil voice. It's like, once you get on, you can never go back. Ha 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 ha! And it starts laughing at them. That's fucking Tony Todd.
Yeah, that must be it. That's dumb.
That's awesome.
You mentioned roller coaster, and then I remember that movie, and I'm just
roller
like,
coaster of love, sour wine.
That movie's dumb.
I actually
really dumb.
I like that movie. It's a lot of fun.
It's pretty stupid.
Final Destination 3's so the reason why I like the Final Destination series, we could just start talking about those since we're on it.
Do it. I dare you.
The reason why I like those movies is the same exact reason why I like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Because the creativity they were able to put behind the kills in the movies and whatnot. And how, like, you never know how a character's going to die. It's not like, oh, they're just going to get stabbed. Oh, this one might get stabbed. Like, you never know what's really going to happen to it. And, like, that sort of creativity just creates kind of an anticipation for what is to come in the movie that makes the filmmakers have a lot of freedom. And the viewers...
Well, especially, too, like in the first one when they're kind of figuring it out. And then it's like, oh, one person dodges death. And then they're kind of sitting there thinking, like, oh, I guess you're next. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, the person's dead. It's
decapitated.
Like, whoa, what the fuck happened?
Or as they would say in... fuck, why can I not think of the name? Hot Fuzz. Decaffeinated?
Good old Hot Fuzz.
But yeah, I really like the Final Destination movies. The fourth one's pretty bad. But I like 1, 3...
3 on is dumb. The first 2
No,
are
number
awesome.
5 is great. Rewatch number 5, because that
I'd have to rewatch it.
Actually really cool. That's the one with the gymnastic girl. And she's like going through her routine, and there's like a nail on the board, and there's a leak going on in the air conditioner, and just like everything's getting set up, and you have no idea which one's gonna like actually affect her, what's gonna happen, and what's gonna go wrong basically. And then she ends up like breaking every bone in her body and twisting her neck and all that. And then
yeah, I kind of feel like it's not ringing any bells.
You got the other one. The girl wants to get laser eye surgery, but the machine goes wrong and starts cutting her eyeball in half. It's just got a lot of really fun shit to it. And it ended up being a prequel, which was a cool little twist. Spoiler alert. I don't know.
Spoiler.
Those ones, they always just were fun and creative and, you know, just goofy little films that I always kind of got a kick out of. But yeah, number 2 is probably the best. Because number 2 is pretty goddamn fun.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Especially that stupid little kid in the birds. And he gets crushed.
That shit was awesome.
And then the mom's like, I'm just going to go kill myself. It's like, that's not going to work, lady. And she's like, fine, I want to live. Decaffeinated. By an elevator. It's like, oh, shit. It's a good-ass movie.
Cheer.
But yeah. I'm glad we were able to get in depth with these movies and talk about how much we just liked specific scenes in them. Please join us next time on the What's in the Pod podcast.
Did we ever figure out what's in the pod?
It's Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
Yikes.
Yeah. Well, have a good one, everybody.